It's important to have a solid plan in place to make the transition from vacant to leased as smooth as possible. In this video, I'm going to share the plan that we use to make that flow seamlessly. If we've never met before, my name is Matt Cave, licensed real estate broker. I've been selling homes and managing rental properties here in the Hudson Valley for over 20 years. And now let's get into the video all about the initial vacancy period when starting property management. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure that the utilities remain active at the property while it's vacant, and we're going to keep those utilities in the owner's name. Now there's a couple reasons why we keep it in the owner's name. Number one, it's much easier to avoid that transition from the owner to the property management company for such a short vacancy period. It would just be a logistical challenge to get everything switched over and then switch it again shortly thereafter when a tenant moves in. So it's just much easier to continue to keep it in the owner's name. The owner will continue to pay those bills remotely, and the utilities will remain active without any transition for this short vacancy period. Now, during the next transition, when these residents move out, we'll be able to handle that process. We'll have more funds in reserve, and we'll have much more notice and time to get the utilities established so that we can continue to have utilities on during the next vacancy period, and you won't have to get involved in that process. When property management begins, we'll collect the property reserve up front, which is funds that we hold for property expenses. So normally these funds are used for things like cleaning and utilities at the property, but during this initial vacancy period, oftentimes that reserve isn't going to be enough for repeated or multiple expenses. So for example, if we have to handle the lawn mowing multiple times, filling up the fuel tank, it's going to eat through that reserve pretty quickly. So we won't have enough funds to pay multiple bills. So it's really best to just have the owner continue to pay those so that we don't have to keep requesting funds to replenish that reserve. So the second thing that we're going to want to do during this initial vacancy period is disclose any recording devices. It's important that you let us know if you have any device that can record audio or video, like cameras or video doorbells, because we need to disclose that to anybody at the property. There will be multiple applicants looking at the property. There may be other real estate agents. There may be agents from our office or co-broking agents from other offices. And so we'll need to know if there's any recording devices so that we can disclose that to anyone showing it. And we'll put signs up at the property so that everyone is aware that there are recordings going on. This is required by law, so it's important that you disclose this to us so that we can disclose it to anybody visiting the property. Next, let's talk about access to the property. We like to have a set of physical keys for the home, even if you have a digital keypad. And the reason is because we prefer to use our lockbox and key system so that we have control over who has access to codes. Now, we use electronic lockboxes, which can distribute short one-time codes for access to the property. If we use a digital keypad, the concern is that someone may get the code and it could end up getting out there to other people. So if we have control over the electronic lockbox, we can make sure that access to the home is restricted and no one has a code that they can access the property later on. And finally, let's talk about monitoring the heat during the winter months. If you have access to a digital thermostat, we recommend keeping the internet on and access to that thermostat during the heating season. This way, you can keep an eye on the heat and monitor the heating system remotely just to make sure that there's no issues if the power goes out or if the heating system stops working. Now, we do check on the property regularly during the heating season just to make sure everything's okay and the heat is running. But if there was an incident and we weren't at the property, it's great to have this remote system to monitor everything just to make sure that there's no issues at the property. So I hope you found this video helpful in clarifying the transition period in new property management. Please don't forget to subscribe so you get notified of new videos as they come out. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next video.